Another Wednesday morning, and we're here with AM Business. Now, economist Dr. Joabe, who is also with the Center for Policy Analysis, is warning that government decision not to extend the IMF program beyond 2018 could pose some serious challenges for the economy. President Akufo-Addo on Tuesday, in his first encounter with the press, indicated that his administration will not extend the IMF program after a scheduled deadline in 2018. George Bafe has been picking thoughts of economist Dr. Joabe on the possible effect of the decision on the country.
The president is saying that we are not going to extend the IMF program. For you, what do you make of this remark by the president?
Well, at least it clarifies one part of it. I think that there's a question of this extension because there had been a call reportedly from the unions, labor unions, saying that the Ghana government should try and terminate this thing as soon as possible. So it could be partly answering that. In practical terms, the issue about staying to the timeline of April 2018 and given the starting point means that the effort to successfully complete will mean a sharper rate of fiscal consolidation, which means that unless we put our total minds together, it will mean a harsher austerity period ahead of us. Because you are trying very hard to restrain excessive borrowing. Your debt level is too big. So you want to bring it down. And the only way you bring it down is that you borrow less. And the only way you borrow less will be to either raise your revenue collections and or bring down your expenditures. Because the deficit is nothing more than the difference between your total available revenue and grants and your expenditures, including interest payments. So how are you going to close it? And at this point, we are working very, very hard, but the unfortunate preliminary outcome is that the 6.5% of GDP deficit target for 2017 will be very difficult to achieve because the revenue picture is not looking good.
And look, I'll be coming back to that, but I am aware of discussions between government and the fund, and even some would say that discussions to even work on the text about this possible extension and all the rest. Could it be that this is government's new position or this has not been communicated to the fund yet? One of the reasons why the board meeting, which was scheduled to come on July 26th, had been rescheduled was because of a clearer position of the extension of the program. So, knowing what you've also heard, are you surprised by this latest announcement by the president?
Now, I was trying to avoid confronting that issue because it needs clarification. Clearly, the president will look embarrassed if it turns out that soon after he's made this public pronouncement, then we hear that Ghana has agreed to extend. So the point that I was trying to stress is that you can, yes, let's go back straight to the news coming from the negotiations or the discussions. Now you could decide that under the program, if you can't complete a review, which is where the fourth review is sitting, if you can't complete a review, then you can go for a holding action. And you have to then agree with the fund what needs to be done to restore you on path. Now, so that is one thing that is there, that it doesn't mean you have terminated the program, but like this extension or moving backwards the board meeting. But I think that truly this is a highly sensitive issue because if we want to stay, as the president has said emphatically, to closure April 2018, it means that the journey to April 2018 will be very steep. That is, and the implication is what we have to work at. And if you're going to walk on that type of road, it becomes important that the sharing of the burden of austerity, that's why you need a nationally, I hope the government will call the nation to order. And we would have to look at ways and means of making sure that we can collect more revenue without necessarily raising taxes. After all, we've just abolished some nuisance taxes in quotes, that we can still collect by plugging leakages and loopholes. That's one way. Looking at some people who have been enjoying exemptions and whether they can be negotiated out of the exemptions they are enjoying. We need to look at the developments at the ports to make sure that what is expected is close to what will be actually collected. That's one way. The other way that I don't know whether we have the time to do all of that is to block the leakages which have meant that contract sums have been larger. All these things we banded together as looting the coffers or corruption or rent seeking. We need to make sure that those avenues whereby the state pays more than what effectively is spent on the economy, that thing becomes a thing of the past.
But Doc, as we speak right now, we are even yet to conclude the fourth review. We haven't done a fifth review. We have a sixth review. Now, even under the fourth review, the program or government is struggling to meet its revenue target. We have expenditure. Now, the recommendation is that you have to do some cuts. Some are even raising the issue about whether it was a prudent decision to go ahead with these tax cuts. Now, looking at all these things, you have 9 clear months to do these things. Aren't we just setting ourselves to hang ourselves up?
Well, George, you know, the real problem is about our relationship with donors, and particularly with the IMF and imposition of conditionalities, is a question of internalizing the discipline needed to live within our means. If you don't find that discipline, then you turn to the IMF, and you turn to the IMF, you can run into problems about the conditions for getting assistance. So all of this means that we have to accept the challenge that we have reached the point, and we should not say that just out of pride. We must be able to convince ourselves that we are determined to not have to have projects and so on that require somebody else to come and support us, and then we argue about the terms. So I'm saying to you that for me, hearing the president says that everything else that anybody is doing, we're going to have to go back and decide that we will complete the project on schedule, but the implication of that is what I'm saying we need to put our minds together on. But this is what the president stands. So any further discussions about the terms of writing an extension, I'm saying to you that the loss of credibility is more damaging than you might think. So we have to say that implied in the president's statement to the public, it means that he's saying that the decision is that we are going to go for completion April 2018, period. That's what there is to it.
Let's come to what are for you the real implications of this? You're talking about a crash, talking about austerity, and what are the real implications? Looking at the fact that we have 9 clear months to meet all these targets. What we get is that this program would be completed. Therefore, he's not going to back out. And if you are in the soup, you have to take your time for it to get well cooked.
Yes, but what I'm saying to you is that therefore the nation should be called to order. He's raised something about the fact that he's made the point that those who serve in his government must know that they are serving the nation providing service to the nation, that this is no place for any private gains. Now, he's going to have to hold religiously to that and make sure that there are no leakages whatsoever. That may not be easy. It's a big political challenge. The other thing is that the collection of revenues will have to be effective, but also at the same time, it will mean that there may have to be some postponement, a reprioritization, postponement of some planned government expenditures, even some that may have been in the manifesto. So we are caught in a situation, because to just walk away and just think that we can just have our own way is not advisable. But it means that the nation must brace itself. We've got to, the question you're asking should be answered seriously. We need to get our minds together as to how, therefore, we're going to rally around, keep social stability, keep the economy in shape, and be able to get there. It also begins to raise the question of how seriously, how effectively the government will negotiate with the Chinese, because that allows a phasing of some of the development expenditures, so that we can complete this stabilization and in an orderly fashion by the set date. It means a lot of hard work. It means a lot of understanding on our part of the road that we are mapping ahead of us. The president has given a time period for something. Its doability in an orderly way, to me, means less partisan bomb throwing. It means the nation should brace itself. It's like you are flying and you are getting into a turbulent period. We need not people shouting about the turbulence or what has caused it and who is not doing what they should be doing. We need to fasten our seat belts so we can go through the turbulence. If we don't do that, we create more confusion and lose more investor confidence.
Wait for AM Business this morning.